Well, now that we're done with the second component there successfully, that leads us to the third component here, which is the feed section. And so without so much ado, let's just launch to Visual Studio and have that started. So I'm going to get to the Visual Studio, and we have the container for that waiting for us here. Well, one of the things that I need to start to fix here is the BG color, and in fact from now moving forward we're going to have the same BG color for the body. So I'm just going to latch to the body on top here, and I'm going to give it a class because I want to have the same class for the body. So I'll say BG, and I'll add a BG glare of 100. So now that means that I can be able to get rid of the background color here, and I'll be very comfortable that I'm going to see some background color over there. Yeah, so at least we have something like that. So now I can come and get rid of these three now and start adding the content within the feed. So in fact I'm going to call these feeds, and I'll have yet another container here. So this is the one that is going to house the stories, so like what we have here. So all of this stuff, we want them to be in that specific div, and of course we'll be starting with these wrist items here, and then of course now we're going to come to these components over there. So a div I've created there, and then now within that div I'm going to have an ordered list for the stories, reels, and rooms. So inside here I need at least 3 LIs, and so the first one will be the stories. Here we have the reels, and lastly we have the rooms. So something like that. So we are going to have the SVGs later, but let's first of all try to refresh that and see what we got there. So that's what we have over there. So we now need to have them in this kind of a background, and also they should be aligned in a row. So let's try to fix that, and of course we're just going to add a few classes here. So the first one that you're going to add here is the height. So we want the height to be auto, so that means that the height of this specific container will be flexing according to the content that we have there. For the BG for this specific container, it should be white. The width, I'm going to give it a full width, so width full, and also the corners of this specific container should be rounded large. Also, let me just have it medium, and also the padding all rounded of 4. Okay, so that's looking fine over there. We can also style the unordered list, so we are under class, and the utility classes that we are going to add here include the flex, so that the items can flex in a row, and also I need to have these items justified at the center. So I'm just going to talk about justify center, or rather between, so that I can have them occupying the whole space available. So they will be stretched in a row because of the flex, and now the justify between, it will have them now distributed so that they fill the whole available space. So, and also I can have them with the color glare, and this will be 500, and the text size should be medium. Plus also now the padding left and right, I'm going to give it 12. Okay, so far so good over there. So for the LIs, again, we can also style them a little. So I'm going to add a class here, and so for the LIs, we're going to have them flex, and for the color, will the first one will be blue. So let me not give the color for now. Let me just talk about the space, right and left, and also we should add the font should be bold, so font semi-bold rather. And that's about it. So for the colors, only the first one will be blue. So I can talk of text and blue, maybe 500. Yes, and that's about it over there. Let's see what we have so far. If we refresh that, yes, so we're going to have something like that. So still we have an issue with the margin here. So let's try to fix the margin. So let me just try to come here and add a margin all rounded of 8, and we have that fixed over there. Though I'm having an issue with this, I don't know what is happening here, but we'll be fixing that later. In fact, we should have this margin. Let me just have this margin on top here, and we should even add a few classes here. Let me just try and see if we're going to fix that issue over there. So I'm going to add flex here because I want the items in this whole container that you're having here to flex in a column layout. So I'm going to talk about flex call, and also and a padding right and left of 4. And now I'm going to include the margin, and this should be margin all rounded of 8. And for the spaces between these items that are flexing in a column, it should be at least 4. So padding y of 4, or rather space y of 4. Yeah, and I think those few classes should fix the issue. Let me see, we refresh that. Yeah, at least we have that fixed. Okay, that one is fixed, but what is this? So I had to remove that background there because it was affecting the shadow that we're having here. So it looks like it was starting here, which did not look that good, so I had to remove it over there. And so that way now things are looking a bit nicer now. Okay, so far so good. Now the other thing that we can also now do is to add the icons here. So again, we'll add to hello icons here, and let me try to look for that pages just a little quick here. So we have it over here, so I'm just going to grab it, and I'm going to have that within the stories. So I'm going to have the one for the reels, so that is a video. And lastly, we are going to have one for the looms. So let's refresh and see what we have achieved so far here with icons. Yeah, so far so good. At least it looks good. Maybe we can fix the spacing between them. Yeah, the spacing between them is a little bit small, so that is so that is over here. So I need to come and make these 4. We try 4 and see how that space will span out there. So this is again 4 over here. Sorry, that is not fixed yet. Why? Okay, let me see. Yeah, so one of the things that you can also do is to just make sure that you don't have your text hanging like we have in my case here. So I had to wrap it within a h4, and that way the space x4 will work. So otherwise you're going to add the space here and it will not be implemented. So let me just have this one in a h4 as well, and then we have that spaced out like that. And now we can we can just have it like that. Or like, is it too much, the spacing? I think the spacing is too much. Let's just have it back to 4 now. Rather, let's have it back to 2. Sorry, this should be 2 because 4 is too much for the space there. Well, I think I can like what I'm seeing. If you like what you're seeing, kindly like that video, share it with your friends so that we can enjoy this. So let's move forward, and so the next thing that we want to create are these components, these cool components here. So I'm just going to show you how we can create that step by step. So let's just jump in and do that right away. So we're going to have that below here. They are the Facebook stories. So what I'll basically do, I will start by creating a div here. So this will be the main container, and now within this main container we're also going to have yet another container inside it, and finally we are going to have one more container again inside that, and enough of the containers. So now this specific container is the specific one that will hold the image. So this is like the image that we are seeing here. Let me just show you in a minute. So this specific image here, so we're going to pull out that image. So I'm just going to come and have the image tag here, and so I'm going to pull that from the images, and the image itself is a profile if I'm not wrong, and we're just going to leave it like that. We're not going to style it yet, because now down here we also need to have a few more items. So just below the image we are going to have another div, another container, and as well as inside that also will include another container as well. So for this specific container that I'm just creating right now, if I may just like give you a heads up here, it is this specific circle that we are having here. So that is the division or the div that we've just created. So we are going to style this div so that now it helps us to acquire that blue circle, and inside it we are going to have the SVG. So in fact right now I can just head on to the hill icons here, and I can just get the SVG icon, so this one here. So just copy that, and now I'm just going to have it within this div inside here. So just paste that over there, and so I think we are done with that. Let me just fix this just a minute. Just so that way, just need to have things aligned properly as you would want it to be there. So now if we refresh to see what we have so far, so this is what we have over here. So now we need to add a few classes so that now we can make this look like this. So just now, so back to Visual Studio, and we'll start with the second div here. just to add a few classes, so I'm just ignoring the first div there, so it will not have any class. So class, and so the first thing that I'll do is I'll make items within this div to flex in a low. I'll have the margin top being 3, and also the space right and left of this should be 4. Good, so that's done over there. So now for the second div here, sorry, have a typo here. So now here now what we are going to do is we want now to be able to style this div that is housing the image. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to give it a background of white. I want to determine the height and the width. So for the height for the width rather, I'm going to give it 32, and for the height I'm going to give it 48. I also want it to be rounded medium, so I'll say rounded MD, and also include a shadow around it, and the shadow is medium. Rather, let me just have it being small, and that's all that we need there. Let me just try to refresh that you can move together here. So for now you might not see anything because of the size of the image, so we need to maybe even before we refresh here see or fix the size of the image. Oh sorry, that is even fixed by the size of the div, so that's good. So you can now see things are taking shape. I don't know whether you can be able to see the shadow here. It's a little bit small. Let me just try to hover in here, so now you can see that specific div is taking shape. There is that small shadow around there. So far so good. So that means that we can now get back to Visual Studio and add even more classes. So one of the other classes that I can also be able to add is the hover, because I want when you hover over these the brightness to change to 7.5. so brightness to change to 7.5, and I'm also going to add the positioning of this specific div, and I'm going to have it with relative. So you can now see after refreshing, if I hover over the specific image here, I'm able to get that hovering effect, that brightness, and that is cool. So we can now move forward and style the image, and for the image all we're just going to do is just to make it loaded. So I'm going to, sorry, I'm adding that to in the long place. So let me just add a class here, and here we just want this to be loaded medium. Yeah, so the image now is cold, so we can now head on to the div that is housing the blue circle in the SVG. So for that, again, we're just going to include the following classes to style it, and one is to make the items to flex, sorry, 2 is to make the items to be justified at the center, and for the margin to be the margin bottom, that is MB, to be 20 of items now within that div. Now for the specific image or div where we have the SVG, so remember this is the div that we need to style so that it looks like a blue circle. So what I'm going to do again is to make, sorry, too fast to get to the utility classes, but we always need to start with a class. And now basically what we are going to do here is to make the items within this div to flex in a low. I'm also going to make these to have a background of blue 500, and I'll also have it with a width of 10 and a height of 10 as well. Because I need it to be at the center of the image, I'm going to talk of items center, and also justify and item center always work together. Yes, and we can also have the text being white. So let's refresh and see what we have so far. I'm always so curious to see. So after refreshing, that's what we have there. So you can see now the blue div at the middle there, and also there is the SVG icon, that is the clause. Now we just need to add a few classes so that now it looks like this. So, and one of the things that I can do is to make it loaded. So for that I'm going to add a class of loaded full, and that will make it a full complete circle. Yeah, and that's about it there. So the last thing that we're going to do here is to add the outline, that white outline around the blue circle. So for that I'm going to talk about outline, the class outline, and because I want it to be offset, to be outside the blue circle a little bit, so I'm going to talk about outline offset, outline offset, and how far it will be from the circle. It will be 2, like the distance between the outline and the circle. So I'm going to add a distance of 2. So in that case we say outline offset, then you add a number signifying the distance. And I also want to like talk about the size of the outline. So in this case it will be 4. And now finally the size of rather the color of the outline. So again this should be white, and with that, or just that, we should now have a white outline around this. So let's refresh and see if we're able to achieve that, and great. So we have that over there. There's that hovering effect, which is something similar to what we have here. So we are done with that very first component there. So we need now to have the rest here. So I'm just going to create one and then duplicate and change the images. So we're just going to learn how to create one here. So let's just head on to the Visual Studio here and try to fix that. Yeah, so now below this specific div, so this, remember, is our main div here. So and this is the first component that we have created, so this one over here. So now we want to have yet another one, so I'm going to have that appearing below here. Sorry, that should be first component is this. Sorry, the first component is this one here, and now we should have the other one within this specific container because of the flex, because remember we need to have the items displayed in a flex or that flex order. So I'm going to have the second one now appearing just below this div here. And so as usual I'm going to start with a div, and again now within this div basically what I just have is the image. So the image, and for the image that I'm going to have there is the profile. So I'm just going to talk about profile. Let me see if I get the suggestion. Yes, and I need the last one over here. So we're going to style that in a minute, because we also need to have yet another image. So remember here we have two images. we have the big image and we have the image that is on top of that big image. So let me just have them here and we'll see how we can fix that. So images, profile. So in fact with this one we're just going to have this one over here, and this one we are going to change it to a different image, the first one here. So this one should be, you can use any image of course, so it's up to you. Oh sorry, they should be the same. Beg your pardon. Yeah, they're the same because let me just show you there so that you're not confused. Yeah, so this one, you see this big image is the same one that we have now here, now being compressed and being that small. Yeah, so that's what we need here. And now below that, of course, now we need to have the text. So just below that, I'll have that in a H1. Let's have that in a H1. So of course this now the tag that is going to hold the name of the person who is like sharing this story, and I'm just going to call them the Mariana. Okay, so if you refresh that, then you're going to see something that looks like this somehow. Unorderly, yeah, but yeah, we are now going to fix this so that we have it now look like this, imagine. And we're just going to add a few classes there that will help us to achieve that. So we'll start with the main div over here, and one of the things that I'll do is to determine the background. So the background, that is BG, should be gray 200. The width and the height of this. So for the width, we're going to have the we are going to have it being that 2. For the height, we'll give it 48. We also want it to be loaded medium. We're also going to have it positioned relative, so relative, and we are also going to have it with a shadow. That's a very small shadow, so I'll talk over SM. Okay, so that's it with that. So if we refresh it now, we should see now things taking shape a little. Let's just see if we have any change over there. Yeah, you can now see the images now are compressed to the size of the div, that is the width of that 2 and the height of 48. Now we need to fix the images so that now they can look like this. So we're going to start with the very first image, and we're just going to add the following classes. So class, and the first thing that we are going to do is to make the image to be loaded, and it should be loaded medium. We're also going to talk about object. And basically what this class will do, as you can see here, it will make the object to fit in the specific div. So object fit none. So if we try to refresh that, let's see if that class does anything. Yeah, and as you can see now, by just adding that class, we have now the image fitting into the specific div that we have over here, so that now we achieve something like this. So by just adding the object fit, now you're making the object that you have there fit in the specific container within which it is stored. So with that, now we can move forward and also add the height. So for this specific image, so again I'm going to give it a height of 48, and for the width I'm going to give it 96. I'm also going to reduce the brightness of the image, so brightness, and I'm going to give it 50. Yeah, now you can see now the whole image now fits into the specific object that we have there, or the object fits in the specific div that we have here, and they are now equal to this. And you can also now see that the brightness has been reduced to 50, so we don't have it now being that clear, it's a little bit dark. And so now what we want is, we want now this image to appear on top here, and also the text to appear on top of the image. So let's now just do that right now, and cross. And so the first thing that we are going to do is to make this image absolute, so absolute. And also we'll talk about the top. So this now the position of the image. So remember, we need this image to be on top here, so that's why we are adding the class of top, and how far or distant from the top should be 4, and also from right we should come and talk about right of 1.5. So we are now saying that okay, this image will be on top, and the distance from the top will be 4, but also what about the light? So we are talking of 1/2. Yes, and that's about it over there. So that now will make the image to be on what we can call left top. So we're also going to come and talk about the size of the specific image. So we're going to make it or reduce it to a width of 10 and a height of 10. And because we want it to be a circle, we are going to talk about the loudness ordered full ladder, and just that should make us to be able to achieve that, or only those classes should help us to achieve that. So let's see. Yeah, and as you can see, we have that right there. So the only thing that we are now left to add is the outline around the image. So, and that one we've already done in a previous div, but let's just add it to this one. So I'll do it very quick now. So outline, so this will be outline offset, and yeah, so we've just added the classes for the outline there. So we are going to see that later, but let's also fix the text, because we also want the text to be on top of the image. So we are going to add a few classes to the h1 here. So again, to make this text to be on top of the image, remember this div has a class of relative, and so now we are giving the specific objects within it a class of absolute, and that will now make them to be one on top of each other. So I'm going to add a class, and the first thing is to make it absolute, and for the text, oh sorry, yeah, so we're also going to now remember the image should be at the bottom, rather remember the name should be at the bottom of this div. So we are going to talk about the distance from the top. So remember the text or the name here should be at the bottom of the div. So we are going to talk about the distance from the bottom. So I'm going to talk about bottom of 4. And what about from left? So I'm going to just talk about a half, so that way it will be somewhere at the center. And so even to make it appear the center, we are going to talk about translate x a half. So we are going to have a text being white, and the font should be bold. So I will refresh that over here so that we see what we have so far. And oops, that's what we have over there, the text on top of the image, looking so cool. We have the outline here, though I cannot see the offset. I don't know why. What's wrong with the offset? Maybe we have a typo somewhere or something. Oh, sorry, the offset. So this one should be offset. Yeah, so that was typed. It was typed incorrectly. So now we've refreshed that. Of course, now we should see the distance between the image and the outline, and that's looking so cool, so fine. So if we compare it with this one, it's almost similar. So the only one more thing that we can do is to add the hovering effect, which is missing here. So that one again is very easy to do. So I'm just going to go to the main div here, in fact the image, and just next to this brightness here, I'm going to talk about hover, and here I'm just going to change the brightness. I'm just going to change the brightness to 7.5, and that should help me acquire that hovering effect. And boom, so we have that hovering effect. So we're just changing the brightness from 50 and increasing it to 7.5. So now because we have several, we're just going to duplicate that specific container, and we're just going to change the images just to make things fast here. So let me do that a little quick. And that's what we have there, looking so cool, so fine over there. So we're done with that story section, I think so. So the hovering effect looks good. Yeah, the images, they're good. Yeah, so that part, I think we're done with it. So far so good. So now the next thing that we need to do is to go to the next container here. So real quick. Well, now that we have that being complete, so we can head on to the next part. So of course this is the part where we'll be adding the post. So we're going to see now how we can be able to create something like this. And as you can see, we have a lot of work to do over there. So let's jump in and just try to start that over here. So I'll start with a comment here, and I'm just going to call this on the post. Maybe starts here. Yes, so something like that, and it could be cool. And so now we can start by structuring this whole thing. So we'll start with the very first container over here, and now inside that we're now going to have one more div. So this is the div that is going to house the user's image. So in fact I'm going to also have an image here. so the image tag, and I'm going to have this image here, the profile, and we'll style that in a minute, because below that I also want to have a button. So I'm just going to come and have a button here, and below the button, inside the button rather, we're just going to say what is in your mind. Yeah, so just that's all that we need to have over there. So let's refresh it and see what we got. So that's what we have there. Now we need to be able now to style this so that it looks like this. So let's just add a few classes there. So we'll start with the very first parent container here. So I'll add a few classes to it, one of it being the background color, so that will be white. I also want it to be rounded MD, and padding all rounded of 4. For the div that is housing the image and the div, the image and the container, so for the div that is housing the image and the button, we are going to add the following classes. So one of the class that we are going to add is one that will make the items to flex, and also to have a space in between them of 2, and that's it. So let's now style the image here. So these are the classes that we're going to use to style the image. So one of it is that we want it to be a circle, so we'll talk about rounded full, and also we want to reduce the height and the width, so we'll reduce it to a width of 10 and a height of 10. Lastly, we are going to style the button here, so we'll add the following classes to style the button. One is we are going to make the items within the button to flex in a row. We also want to have it the background of gray 100. For its width, it will be full, so it will occupy the whole container within which it is contained. And we're also going to come and talk about rounded full. For the text within it should be gray 500. So let's refresh and see what we have achieved so far with those few classes that we've added. And boom, we have something that looks like that. So cool. So we now need to be able to fix the text here. So I'm just going to come and talk about here in our text, justify the start. And I'll also give it a PY, that is padding top and bottom of 3, and also padding right and left of 4, and that should fix that. So now we need to create yet another div that now will house this the live video, the photo stroke video, film and activity. So again, that is very easy. So we're just going to have that below here. Just a minute. So we will have it just below this div here. So we're just going to have a container here, and yet another container within that. So this is a specific container that will now hold the SVGs. So I'm just going to have the text maybe in a H2, and so here we are going to have the first one being a live video. Yeah, so the other thing that I'm now going to do is to duplicate this, because we need 3 of these. So I'll talk of 1, 2, so we have 3 of them. So this should be video stroke photo, and the last one should be feeling stroke activity. Yeah, so something like that. And so now we are going to have the SVGs for the specific live video, photo, video, feeling. So let's just lash to Visual Studio, let's just head on to the hero icons. Sorry. So here you're going to have the video. So I'm just going to grab that real quick, have it here. As usual, I need to fix this. Oh, sorry, it's a mess. Yes, so the next one should be photo. Let me see, that should be photo or image. That should be photo, so we have it here. So grab that SVG, have it just below here. And the last one, we just need to have an emoji. So we're just going to use this one over here. So just below there, just fix that there. Oh, sorry. So we have that over there. Let's refresh and see now, so that when we start styling it, we know from where we are getting from. So yeah, things looks like this. Now we just need to add a few classes, so that now we have them looking like this. So real quick, we get to the Visual Studio here, and one of the things that I'm going to do first is to go to the very parent div here and add the following classes to style that. So class, and first of all, I'm going to make the items to flex. For the margin top, we're going to have it being 5. We also need the padding right and left of 6, and also for this specific items that we have here, we need to have them justified between, so they need to like occupy the whole container that we have. So I'll talk of justify between, and for the text color, I'm going to give it gray 500, and for the font it will be semi bold. Sorry, the typo there should be semi bold. Good, so we are done with the parent div there. So now we can style the specific items here. I don't know what to call them. So the live video, the video and photo, and the feeling and activity. So I'm just going to add these classes to them, and because they are the same, let me see if I can add the class to all of them at once. So hold Alt, click that, move to the next one, hold Alt, click on it, and we are good. So we can add a class to all of them. So is equals to, and here we just need to have the items flex and also the space between them being 2. So those few classes now should help us to fix that. And as you can see, now we have the text being gray, the items are aligned in a row, and then we have the spacing there. So we just now need to change the colors of the icons. So the first one will be red. So let me just head on to the SVG icon here, and I need to move to the class here. So for this I'm going to talk about text red 500. For this one it will be text green 500. The last one will be text I think yellow 500, and boom, we have that looking so cool, so nice over there. So now the next thing that you now want to do is to create this model. We want to be able to create this. So when we click on the and post here, we should now be able to see this. So let's just, first of all, we are going to create the model, and then we are now going to we also need to get rid of this outline here. So first of all, we need to work on this, and then now we are going to work aloud how we can now make it appear when a person clicks on this button. So first of all, let's fix this button here. We just need to make sure that the outline is none. So for this specific button that we have here, so real quick, come over here, talk over focus, and that should be outline none. You're good. So that should fix that over there.